The first mistake they made was laughing. Not quietly, not under their breath, but loud enough for half the lecture hall at a UK university to turn around. It was supposed to be just another normal Monday morning on campus. International students settling into their seats, laptops opening, coffee cups steaming in the cool British air. Among them were a group of American exchange students who had just arrived for their semester abroad. They came in confident, loud, energized, talking about UK university life, like it was going to be some kind of extended vacation. And then Professor Whitmore walked in. Tall, calm, tweed jacket, the kind of presence that didn't need to raise its voice to command a room. "Good morning," he said in a polished British accent. And that's when the laughing started. "Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update." One of the American students, Tyler, leaned back in his chair and whispered loudly to his friends, "Bro, he sounds like he's auditioning for Harry Potter." A few nearby students glanced over. Not amused, just observing. Tyler wasn't trying to start something, at least, not in his mind. Back home, he was used to being the funny guy, the confident one, the loud one. He came from a large American university where sarcasm meant roasting someone to their face and getting applause for it. But this wasn't home. This was a UK university, where humor is sharper, quieter, and far more strategic. Professor Whitmore paused mid-sentence. The room went silent. "I do hope," he said calmly, adjusting his glasses, "that whatever commentary is being offered at the back of the room is relevant to 18th century political theory." The room erupted, not in chaos, but in restrained laughter. Not at the professor. At Tyler, his smile tightened. It was subtle, but it was the first crack. The American students had arrived in the UK expecting culture shock to be about accents and food. They weren't prepared for the social dynamics, for the way British students handle confrontation, for the fact that confidence here isn't measured by volume, it's measured by wit. And Tyler? He doubled down. After class, in the courtyard, he and his friends started mimicking accents. "Oi mate, fancy a cuppa?" He exaggerated loudly. A small group of British students nearby exchanged glances. One of them, Oliver, stood up slowly. Now Oliver wasn't physically intimidating. He wasn't loud. He didn't look angry, which made what happened next even worse. He walked over calmly. "Interesting accent," Oliver said. "Which region of Britain are you attempting? Because I assure you, we're all fascinated." Tyler smirked. "Just having fun, man. You guys don't joke around here?" "Oh, we do," Oliver replied smoothly. "We're just usually better at it." His friends chuckled softly. Tyler felt it again. That shift. That unfamiliar feeling. In the US, banter meant escalating. Here, it meant precision. But instead of backing off, Tyler made his second mistake. He tried to dominate. Over the next few weeks, the American group made themselves known across campus. Loud in the library, mocking British slang, interrupting seminars, bragging about how their American university rankings were way higher. They assumed British students were passive. They misread politeness as weakness. What they didn't realize was that UK university culture is built on quiet resilience. Debate is sharp, criticism is intellectual, and humiliation, it's delivered with a smile. The turning point came during a group presentation. Professor Whitmore had assigned mixed teams, American exchange students paired with British students. Tyler ended up with Oliver. You could feel the tension immediately. Tyler took control of the planning session. "All right, I'll handle the main speaking parts. I've done tons of presentations. We'll keep it energetic." Oliver nodded slowly. "By all means." Presentation day arrived. The lecture hall was packed. Tyler stepped forward confidently and began. Loud, animated, charismatic, throwing in jokes, talking over his slides. For the first 5 minutes, it seemed like he was winning the room. Then the question started. In UK university life, Q&A sessions aren't formalities. They're battlegrounds. A British student in the front row raised her hand. "You referenced Hobbes's state of nature as purely chaotic," she said calmly. "Would you care to reconcile that with his assertions regarding rational self-interest?" Tyler blinked. "Well, I mean, it's mostly chaos, right?" A pause. Another hand rose. "Could you expand on the methodological limitations of your comparative analysis?" Tyler glanced at Oliver. Oliver didn't rescue him. He simply stepped forward when it was his turn. And what followed was surgical. Clear. Measured. Detailed. Calm rebuttals. Subtle corrections. Including gently reframing two of Tyler's earlier oversimplifications without directly embarrassing him. The room shifted. Respect shifted. Control shifted. By the end of the presentation, it was obvious. This wasn't about who was louder. It was about who was sharper. After class, Tyler confronted Oliver. "You could have helped me out there." Oliver raised an eyebrow. "I believe I did." "No, you made me look stupid." Oliver's tone never changed. "No, you did that yourself." That one landed, and for the first time since arriving as American exchange students in the UK, Tyler went quiet. But here's where the story could have ended in bitterness. It didn't, because something unexpected happened next. A week later, there was a campus debate event. American versus British culture. Open forum, packed auditorium. The topic? Media influence on global politics. Tyler almost didn't show up. But he did, and this time he listened. He watched how British students dismantled arguments without raising their voices. How they used understatement like a weapon. How humor was deployed not to dominate, but to disarm. Midway through the debate, Tyler raised his hand. The room noticed. He stood up. "I think," he began, slower this time, "maybe Americans sometimes mistake volume for conviction, and maybe we underestimate how different academic culture is here." Silence. Not hostile. Attentive. Oliver leaned back in his seat watching. Tyler continued. "Back home, we're taught to speak up, to stand out. But here, I think there's more emphasis on precision, on substance. And yeah, that's been a wake-up call." A few nods, then Oliver raised his hand. "I think," he replied, "British students sometimes mistake restraint for superiority. And perhaps we underestimate how much confidence it takes to move across the world and start over." Now the room shifted again. Not divided. United. Because suddenly it wasn't American versus British culture. It was international students learning from each other. And that's what study abroad in the UK is really about. Culture shock isn't about tea or accents. It's about ego. It's about realizing your way isn't the only way. Tyler never became quiet overnight. He was still American. Still energetic. But he adapted. And Oliver? He started laughing louder. Months later, at the end of term pub gathering, Tyler raised a glass. To being humbled, he said. Oliver smirked. To being educated. And this time, the laughter wasn't at someone. It was shared, because what started as bullying became something else entirely. Growth. Respect. Perspective. And that's the part no one expects when American students come to a UK university thinking they're stepping into a movie scene. Sometimes the lesson isn't academic. It's cultural. And sometimes, the regret isn't humiliation. It's realizing how much you almost missed by refusing to listen. Now, here's the twist no one saw coming. A clip from that debate night went viral on campus social media. Not the embarrassing presentation, not the accent jokes, but the moment Tyler admitted he was wrong. The caption read, "Best example of study abroad growth this semester." Thousands of views, comments from international students across the UK sharing their own culture shock stories. American versus British culture stopped being a rivalry. It became a conversation. And Tyler? He messaged Oliver privately. "Drinks next week?" Oliver replied, "Only if you promise not to attempt the accent." Tyler responded, "No promises." And that's how the loud American who tried to bully British students in a UK university ended up learning the most valuable lesson of his semester abroad. Confidence without awareness is arrogance. But confidence with humility? That's power. What nobody talks about is how fragile reputation can be on a university campus. For weeks, Tyler was known as that American guy. But after the debate video spread, something shifted. Other American exchange students approached him. Man, that was real. British students started including him in study groups. Even Professor Whitmore made a subtle comment during the final lecture. "Intellectual growth," he said calmly, "is often preceded by discomfort." And for a brief second, his eyes flicked toward Tyler. Not mockingly, study abroad in the UK isn't just about grades. It's about unlearning. And sometimes, the people you thought you were competing with end up being the ones who help you evolve. And just when everyone thought the drama was over, it wasn't. Because what happened in that lecture hall didn't stay in that lecture hall. By the next morning, someone had clipped the confrontation and posted it online with the caption, "American students try to bully Brits at UK university. Instant regret." Within hours, the video was circulating across student group chats, Campu.